Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another installment of Friday the Top 13, where every other week I do a random ranking of my choosing. So for this week, I decided to go back in time back to our first season of the Asylum Horror Club films. So we just finished our season 2. So we're just going to look back at season 1 and pick our top 13 personal picks for our favorite films from that season. So if you don't know what Asylum is, it's a horror club in which we decide a theme of the month every month, and then I collect some suggestions for films that month, and then we have a poll, and then we decide which films to watch during that period. So I'm just going to go over all of the films that we had done during their first season. So we started in December of 2018. I call this our trial period, December 2018, and during that time we did Krampus, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Exorcism, Emily Rose, and then we took a break for the holidays. We came back, and that's when we decided to introduce the theme of the month. And our first one we decided was Isolation January. So we did the Evil Dead remake 2013, John Carpenter's The Fog, Dead Snow, The Others. And then the following month, we did Romantic February, so like romantic horror films. And we also, at this point, introduced the Killer Franchises series, where I assign a film to kind of go through a long franchise. So we started off with the Evil Dead franchise. So starting off Romantic February, we did The Evil Dead, the very first one. And then moving on, we did Bride of Frankenstein, The Crazies remake, Crimson Peak. And then the next month, March, we did the Women of Horror March, starting off with our KF. If I refer to a film as a KF, that's our Killer Franchises pick for that month. So our KF that month was Evil Dead 2. Then we did Dark Water, the original Japanese film. The Babysitter, Netflix film. Feast. And then we moved on to April, where we did The Horror of Yore. So that's old-timey, or films set in the old-timey days. We started with our KF that month was Army of Darkness, which fit the theme. Moving on to Black Death, starring Sean Bean, The Witch, and Sleepy Hollow. May, we did what we called Mayday May. So it's a vehicular horror films, I guess. Anything that involves some sort of mode of transportation. Yeah. Our KF that month was the original Friday the 13th. So we started doing Freddy versus Jason franchise, grouping them together. So in May we did Friday the 13th, and then we did Christine, John Carpenter's Christine, Train to Busan, the Korean film, Ghost Ship, and Wes Craven's Red Eye. And then moving on to June, we did Vacations from Hell, in which people go on vacation and it's not very fun. Our KF that month was Friday the 13th Part 2, and then we did The Descent, Hostel, Blair Witch Project. And then in July we did Terror from the Deep, films that have monsters or animals underwater attacking you kind of thing. Our KF that month was Friday the 13th Part 3, and then we did The Meg, Lake Placid, The Abyss, which wasn't really a horror film, come to find out, and Jaws. And then that's where we finished it off. In August, we had a get-together, a final season finale party. And there we watched, we continued with our Killer Franchises, KFs. We had 2 of them, double feature. Mm-hmm. Friday the 13th, Part 4, and Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one. So of that list that I just presented, I'm going to pick my top 13 picks. Stephanie has done the same thing. And we're going to move on right out. And after we present our picks, I'm going to tell you which films, the top 13 of the group in terms of, or the Asylum score that I post every week. So we're going to do the top 13 with a disclaimer that not all of these films had gotten ratings. If I didn't get the level of participation that I want, then they're going to be off the list. I'm just saying that because you'd figure that Jaws would be on there as a top contender. I guess it was a busy time of the year. I didn't get the number of reviews and ratings that I wanted, so it won't be on the list. But just to let you know. All right, jumping right in the top 13. Did you want to start, or shall I?
You can go first.
I'll go first with my 13. My 13 was was Evil Dead, the 2013 remake. which was really good. It doesn't touch the original, but is a very, very good effort, in my opinion. Very good remake. The characters were very likable, interesting, and the level of gore and action would satisfy any gore hound, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's just some of the decision making that I didn't like in the film. Some stupid, like, what would they do that for kind of thing. But if you can look past that, I think it was a really good film. So, my number 13, Evil Dead 2013.
My number 13 is Christine. I've heard a lot of people are not big fans of this movie. I love Christine. I think the character development in the movie is just so gradually well done. The fact that it's a killer car is pretty cool, and it's like an old-timey car too. Like, I love like old 60s and 70s vehicles. I really liked just everything about the movie. It was just a really good time to kind of just watch, I guess.
It's a good time. I like that film too. So that was your number 13.
Yep.
And for the Asylum group, in the 13th position with an Asylum score of 80%. I didn't keep track of how many ratings and how many reviews each film had. Although I did, if a film had tied in percentages, then I went with the one with a higher number of reviews. So number 13 was the Blair Witch Project for Asylum group. So that's number 13 for that year, season 1. The Blair Witch Project, which I think is okay. I don't think I even reviewed it that year. Yeah. But I couldn't find it anywhere. I own it now. Since then, I've found it. All right, moving on to number 12. My number 12 is a film we did during the Women of Horror, I believe it was. The Descent. The Descent, in which a group of women go, was it called spelunking?
They go...
I don't know, they go cave diving.
Yeah.
And then they get trapped under there, very, very claustrophobic when you're going through the little tunnels and walking around in the dark. And then, of course, they deal with flesh-eating monsters that inhabit that cave system and they try to fight their way out, kind of thing. So, a very entertaining film. I was surprised that the group didn't like it as much as I anticipated it. I don't know. I don't remember why, but...
a lot of gore. We had a lot of reviews saying that do not watch this while you're eating supper because the gore level is pretty gnarly. So... Yeah.
But the one that I enjoy a lot, for sure, 12 is The Descent.
There's also a lot of Easter eggs in The Descent. That's all I'm going to say because I'm going to ruin it if I say anything else. My number 12 is the Netflix original, The Babysitter. The first time I watched this movie, I didn't know what I finished watching because I was kind of confused. It's a super fun like horror comedy about like this girl that like goes to babysit this kid and she becomes she is like part of a cult and she brings her friends over to this kid's house and the kid's not sleeping. So anyways, a bunch of stuff happens and like just it's the relationship between the babysitter itself and like the kid is like it's interesting and like the characters and stuff they're pretty funny. I liked it. It was a good time. So that was my number 12 Netflix original, The Babysitter.
Decent amount of gore in that one too. With the guy with the knives in the head.
Yeah, that was weird.
All right, for the Asylum group, and I just realized I didn't write down the percentages for each, but I'm just going to list them off. So, number 12, we went with, or the group went with Exorcism of Emily Rose, obviously a possession film that came out early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s. About a girl who lives in a ranch and gets possessed, and it's craziness ensues after that. So Exorcism of Emily Rose, number 12 for the group. Okay, moving on. Number 11. Number 11 is the film that I just mentioned that we didn't get the number of reviews that we were looking for. So Jaws, my number 11. Classic film, and just a staple of that time for sure. Just a killer shark film, and it's still considered to be the best one that's ever been made. So I think that's saying enough for that classic horror film. Who can forget that part where the shark jumps onto the boat and the guy falls into its mouth? So crazy, freaky. And pretty good effects for the time, too. So Jaws is my number 11.
Yeah. My number 11 is the group's previous number 12, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I'm sorry, do not judge me for this, but I actually only watched this, maybe I think it was last year.
Yeah.
For the first time. And yeah, it's pretty intense. It's not as scary as I thought, just because we've seen so many movies with just different things in it, and this one is, I'm not saying it's overrated, but I'm saying that a lot of people have said that this was like the ultimate like scary movie at the time kind of thing. And so when I watched it, I had super high hopes, and I'm not saying it's not good. It's pretty good. And the girl that played the character that was possessed was like nuts. Like, she's like a scream queen to a T, and she's pretty, like, she did a really good job in this movie. So yeah, that's my number 11.
Cool. All right, number 11 for the group was John Carpenter's Christine. So John Carpenter's Christine made it onto the list, a film about a killer car, and or more so about its owner that slowly goes crazy whilst being in contact with this car that murders people. So Christine is the group's number 11. Moving on to our top 10. My top 10 is the first film on here that was a killer franchise's entry, and that's Friday the 13th Part 2. So Part 2 is a fantastic film. You've got the sackhead Jason. I just love the lore of that film. You've got the Jason shed his altar and like the mum's head. That's something that it's seldom or if ever been done in following entries into the franchise. It's very interesting to see that psychology, that side of Jason, where he can let himself become mesmerized and fooled into thinking that someone's his mom, kind of thing. So it's very, very interesting, very tense-filled entry in the franchise. One of my favorites, Friday the 13th Part 2.
So my number 10 is also Friday the 13th, but mine's the final chapter, which I believe is the fourth one.
Yep.
That one was really good for me. It was probably one of my favorite ones so far. It just has like a lot of different things that happens in the movie that are just make it better than after that. So it's hard to explain without actually saying anything. Isn't also the movie where, is it the third one or the fourth one where he finds his mask? Like
the third one.
Yeah. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
very vague explanation.
That's all right. You have to go watch it. Number 10 for the group, going in the top 10. One that you mentioned already, I believe so. I can't read my own handwriting. Yeah, The Babysitter, number 10. So, crazy friggin' babysitter watching a kid and invites over a cult to perform a satanic ritual, which the kid is a witness to, and then has to obviously run for his life because he was a witness to this.
Yeah, humans murders.
So The Babysitter, number 10. All right, moving on to number 9. Number 9 is my all-time favorite classic Universal monster film. That is Bride of Frankenstein. My number 9. So if you don't know the tale of the Bride of Frankenstein, Frankenstein survives the fire and the windmill. Spoiler for the original Frankenstein story. But he survives, and then he eventually meets with another doctor who offers to build him a wife, which he, obviously feeling all lonely and saddened, he was all for that idea. Doesn't all go the way it's planned, but if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's one of my all-time favorites for that era, the old-timey era, Bride of Frankenstein.
I do love that movie too. It is very like a bleeding heart movie. My number 9 is Crimson Peak. This movie surprised me because it is just such a beautiful movie to watch. Like, the like everything, the colors, like the era, like everything is just so pretty. And like she gets into this relationship with this guy, and she goes through this house, and like the house itself, like the way it's built and everything, like the sets and stuff, the way how they did everything, it's so like just aesthetically pretty. So I enjoyed this movie, and even like the horror part in it, like the ghosts and stuff, they're pretty cool, and it's a beautiful movie altogether. Like if you just want to watch something that's like chill and like still in your type of like horror genre kind of thing, I would definitely check out Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
So that's my number 9.
For sure, good pick. I like that one too. All right, number 9 for the group is one that I had mentioned earlier, The Descent, the cave diving film. So yeah, a group like that one as well. Not as much, like I said, as I thought they might, but I thought it might end up high on the list. But oh well, The Descent at number 9. I'm just saying that because a lot of people consider this to be like a modern classic for horror. So.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Everyone's got their own like tastes. All right, and obviously the films above it are amazing films as well. So yeah, surprised and not surprised. Number 8 for me is John Carpenter's Christine. Fantastic Carpenter film, one of my favorite ones. And it's just fantastic storytelling and visuals. Like, how can you forget watching the possessed car on fire, like rolling out of the destruction that it just created at the gas station kind of thing. And it's just a fantastic horror film. And I like the psychology of it and the storytelling, like I mentioned. So just a great entry in the Carpenter's filmography. Yeah, Stephen King as well. It's a good combination, Carpenter and King.
Dynamic duo.
That's right.
Is this the recent or the old one?
That's the recent one.
Okay. So my number 8 is Evil Dead, which was previously mentioned already. I'm not usually too keen on remakes of horror movies because a lot of the times they don't beat the real in the original ones, and a lot of movies have been remade multiple times by different people, which this one surprised me because it was actually not bad. There's a lot of parts that were pretty, like, they're pretty gross. Like that part with her tongue, that was really gross, but it was pretty cool. We saw in the credits how they made it too, which was pretty fun. And a lot of the characters and stuff, you tend to want to feel bad for them because of the torture that they go through in the movie. So there's some pros and cons. Some of the stuff were definitely different from the original ones, but the characters kind of make up for it, I guess. So it's a bittersweet. It's good. So that's my number 8, Evil Dead.
Cool. All right. And number 8 for the Asylum group was one that I just mentioned, The Bride of Frankenstein. So Bride of Frankenstein making it onto the list. I'm happy that we have a very classic horror film on that list. Okay, we are moving on to number 7 is one that you talked about, Crimson Peak. Just a fantastic film that we watched during our romantic February month. Of course, some heavy star power in that film. Great storytelling. A Guillermo del Toro film that is super underrated, and I wish that it would get more love. Great visuals, colors. This was one that I'd love to get on 4K if I ever got something that can play it. But yeah, just hauntingly beautiful. All right, that's my number 7.
My number 7 is the complete opposite to the Crimson Peak love story. Mine is Train to Busan. It's interesting because essentially the entire movie is almost in a train, but it is so intense. The characters, the zombies, they did such a good job. Like, they were such good zombies. Just the way it all happened and stuff, how they got infected, and it just like, it just went super good. Oh, Jesus.
Cat.
Yep. Playing. Anyways. Definitely, if you want a thrilling horror, and you're still like right up into the zombie apocalypse kind of thing, totally check that out. It's so worth it. Like, Netflix original. Is it a Netflix original?
Train to Busan is not.
No, it's not actually. And I've heard rumors that they're possibly working on a second one.
It is confirmed.
There you go.
Called Peninsula.
There you go. Yeah. And there's also, I believe, on Shudder, the prequel to it, and it's animated. Which at first I was kind of like, it's whatever. But it's actually pretty cool. It's still, again, it's really well done. So if you guys want to check those two out.
And that one's called Seoul Station, I think. Yeah.
There you go. So also Shudder. Download Shudder. Like, it's pretty fun. So that was my number 7.
Cool. And number 7 for Asylum Group is Friday the 13th Part 3. So that is the third entry in that franchise. Of course, this is where Jason finds the hockey mask, develops his iconic look, and it takes place on kind of a barn, or he hides out into a barn, and makes it like base of operations while he kills people on that property. It's a very, very cool film. One that I think just fell off my list, unfortunately. So Friday the 13th Part 3. And now we're going into our 6th pick. Number 6 for me is the original The Evil Dead, directed by Sam Raimi and starring the iconic Bruce Campbell. The film that started it all in terms of Bruce Campbell and his rise to horror stardom, and Sam Raimi, of course. A group of friends go camping at a lodge for the weekend in the middle of the woods. They read some passages from the Necronomicon. The Book of the Dead is read, summoning a demon into the forest, and some of the friends get possessed, etc. Fantastic film, and one that I could keep watching. The effects, some might say, don't age well, but it's just the fun of it, and it's a favorite of mine for sure. The Evil Dead.
So mine is a John Carpenter, The Fog. I just love like stories about like myths and stuff, and myths, and myths. Yes, I can say it. And like pirates and just like different legends and stuff, like cool folky like folklore legends about towns and stuff like that is like right up my alley, and like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. And there's like Adrienne Barbeau is in there as well, and she's like a radio host that is situated in like a tower, a lighthouse tower, and it's like just the whole like dynamic and the scenery in the movie is such a like, it's so cool, it's so well done, and like the story, and I believe is Jamie Lee Curtis in there? Yeah,
she's a secondary character. Yeah. Weird to see.
Which is, again, it's really weird to see. And another one that I also love, so The Fog, just, like, the original The Fog, check it out. It is so freaking cool. Like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, legendary, creepy pirates and stuff, like, bring that down.
That's right, and fantastic. Another one that just fell off my list as well. I love the atmosphere in that film, just the fog rolling into the town from the ocean, and the John Carpenter's score is amazing, and it's a score that no one ever talks about, but it's a fantastic theme to that whole story. And Stephanie won our Lunatic of the Year award for the group, in which, this is an award that people have voted on, their most valuable member of the group, and has a reward for getting that award. She gets to pick a film to go into our club Hall of Fame, and she picked this one here, John Carpenter's The Fog. Mm-hmm. It's a great film to add on there.
It's a classic. Check it out. Own it. Buy it. Watch the
Scream Factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic bonuses on that.
There is. They do at the scene.
Yeah. Yeah, on location.
They do on locations and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to just get to know like little tidbits and stuff about the movie. So
Yeah, for sure. Number 6 for the group, Asylum group, agrees with me. The Evil Dead, the original one, for number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. I'm right, you're wrong.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. I just talked about it, so I'm not gonna expand on that. All right, number 5, Train to Busan, or Busan. South Korean film about people who go on a train and there's a zombie outbreak in the middle of their trip. And some of the people on the train get infected and it spreads and they have to isolate themselves into some of the cabins and then try to fight their way out of there. Yeah, just tension-filled. One of the best zombies films I was going to say I've seen in the last few years, but I've seen, period. It's one of the best zombie films ever. So I love that there's a sequel coming up. I can't wait for it. And looking forward to watching that. Train to Busan.
So my number 5 is, I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's been said already, is The Evil Dead, the original one. Again, just pointing out there, it's such a classic, and it's a lot of people, like you said, a lot of things in the movie didn't age well. I think it aged gracefully compared to a lot of stuff that's been out there so far. So at least they didn't use CGI. They used a lot of just different type of materials that they had on hand.
Yep.
They improvised really well, and
it just goes to show you don't need a big budget to make such an awesome film.
So that was my number 5, The Evil Dead.
Cool. Number 5 for the group is its sequel, Evil Dead 2. So Evil Dead 2 is they kind of remade the introduction to that film because there were some rights issues with the original one. So they kind of remade a little bit of the first one by having Bruce go back to the cabin with a woman, and then that's of course Necronomicon is read again, and then there's a possession, etc. So yeah, just a fantastic double feature. If you ever watched The Evil Dead and The Evil Dead 2 back to back. And actually, Bruce Campbell suggests a point of the film that can be cut off, as in you can watch the whole of Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead, and then start the Evil Dead 2 right where Bruce is like pushed by the Force, the demon, and it's like one continuous film from there. I haven't tried that, but I imagine it looks pretty cool. Made for a really long, awesome film.
Yeah.
So Evil Dead 2, the pick for the Asylum crew, number 5. And going into my top 4, number 4 for me is a Wes Craven classic, one of his best of all time, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's my number 4. Freddy Krueger, the introduction of Robert Englund in that role, and of course just an iconic character, iconic franchise, and yeah, who can forget like the scene where the woman is dragged around the room up onto the roof and gets slashed. The nightmare fuel. Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course you've seen that. Everyone's seen that.
So my number 4 is The Witch. It's very... You need to pretty much watch it with subtitles because the first time I watched it, the first half hour, it was really hard for me to try to understand what they were saying. So it's also very... How would you say that? Like... there's nothing that happens, like, you're kind of still left in the dark, because, like, everything just is very, it's like a very eerie, spooky film, but it's very good. It's a very good movie. So my number 4 was The Witch.
Yeah, good one. Number 4 for the group is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. So number 4 in the series. Yeah, a film we watched during our August party 2019. So just a fantastic setting to watch that film underneath a tarp while it was storming outside, thunder and stuff. It was pretty cool.
It was a huge thunderstorm.
Yeah, so yeah, Jason of course survives the events of part 3, and then terrorizes a new group that's camped up somewhere around the lake there, or in a cottage. So yeah, fantastic entry in the franchise there. Moving on to our top three. My number three is a film that apparently is cool to hate nowadays. I've seen online, but the third one in the Evil Dead series, Army of Darkness. Bruce Campbell, of course, at the end of Evil Dead 2, is sucked into a wormhole, shooting him out into the past, like the medieval ages, where he has to deal with some knights and some deadites from the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course the Army of the Dead as well. So, really, really cool film. I just find it's not horror. It's very much comedic action with
very
horror
goofy
elements, but it's fantastic. A lot of fun.
Yep.
Yep. So my number three, Army of Darkness.
My number three is Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. I'm a sucker for the first movie in franchises because a lot of the times it's where it all began and stuff. And also Freddy Krueger in the first movie didn't have many he didn't talk very much and stuff, like he didn't say many words, and then throughout the franchise and stuff, his character kind of just grew, and like you knew more about him and all this stuff, and you already knew his backstory in the first one, but like his character developed more throughout the franchise, and I enjoyed the franchise quite a bit, along with the Friday the 13th as well. So my number three was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Cool. And in the group, number three, Train to Busan was the number three, the zombie apocalypse in Korea. So a fantastic pick there, of course. All right, and there's going to be a lot of crossovers in those top numbers anyway, for sure. Number two for me is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. My favorite one in the franchise. Spoiler. We're not done doing the franchise right now during our killer franchises, but we're at New Nightmare right now. And so yeah, Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter with Crispin Glover being killed in the kitchen. That's such a great scene. Yeah, like we mentioned before, just a great entry in that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Right, number two.
My number two is Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2. Again, it's pretty cool that you get to see what people can make of the little things that they have on set. They did have a little bit more money to do this movie, but it still wasn't as expected. But it also blew up, and it's become a cult classic. The people that are in it and stuff, I think his brother plays a couple of characters in the movie, and
the main bad guy too.
Yeah, Ted Raimi. Yeah, so he plays a couple of characters in there, and they're pretty I'm not gonna say anything because you have to watch it to see what characters he plays. You'll never guess it's him. So check it out. It's a really super fun time, and it's funny, it's good, it's a classic. It's something you should own in your collection if you're a horror fan. So
yep,
check it out.
That's right. Number two for the group is Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, Wes Craven's classic, some would say best film of all time. All right, number one, finally, drum roll. I think it's pretty obvious. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. Evil Dead number 2. So, yeah. Just a great. I love the characters. I love the antagonist. Ted Raimi actually does a fantastic job in the role of that evil old lady, and the look of the demon at the end there, where it's materialized into the real world,
yeah,
and is creeping into the house kind of thing. Frig, so cool. Practical effects are amazing. Evil Dead 2, my favorite of season 1, Asylum.
So my favorite of season 1 of Asylum is Army of Darkness. I am a big Gooner fest. I love Goonie horror movies, Goonie horror comedy movies. They're my favorite.
By that she means campy.
Yes, this is Stephanie-isms over here. So I freaking love that movie. I thought it was so I personally think it's a lot more funnier than some people. Some people would take offense to me saying that because they would be like, it's not that funny, it's a horror comedy. Yeah, it is. It's pretty funny. The parts where there's little skeletons that are fighting stuff. Like that's just like it just like gets me. It's just so fun.
It's very slapstick.
Yeah, it's very yeah. What is that? Stop picture motion.
Oh, I don't know if it was stop.
I'm not sure,
no.
but the way they did it was pretty cool, and I enjoyed it, and I don't think I could ever get tired of that movie. I do love it, and again, that's another one that should be part of your classic horror collection.
And if you get the Scream Factory of it, you can get 4 different fucking versions of it.
So yeah, so definitely check out Scream Factory. They have so many different movies that you can get. They're not all horror. The majority of them are. Just checking them out, and also you can get like a lot of Scream Factories in stores. But when it comes to horror movies, get the Scream Factories because they just show you a lot more bonuses and like you get more information from the movie.
Yeah, they're not the best like collector's editions, but they're definitely the most affordable, and they just load you with content and stuff. Yep. So it's really
we got
cool.
a lot of extra features. So
yeah.
That was my number 1.
Number 1, Army of Darkness. Group's number 1 agrees. Army of Darkness, number 1 for the Asylum group, and they're our top-rated film of the first year. So I'm glad that we've got some lovers and not some haters in our group for that film. So that concludes our top 13. And looking forward to doing the next one. My next one's going to be the top 13 films of 1970. This should be done. And I will post that in 2 weeks. So look out for that. And if you're a member of the Asylum crew right now, please let us know what your top 13 was. And of course, Friday or New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is due very soon at the end of July. If you want to just throw me a rating or a review of that, then we can move on to the next few films, which is going to be at our August party. So another double feature projected outside. So let me know if you want to attend that, and looking forward to seeing you there. Have a good one. Bye-bye.